Principles before personalities. So one book that I always carry is a dictionary, okay? Because I was told that in the beginning. Get a dictionary so you know what these words mean that you're talking about. So a principle is a basic truth, a law, a rule of conduct, or integrity. That's what a principle is, according to this Webster's Pocket New Dictionary. And a personality, as soon as I find it, a personality is distinct or attractive character of a person. A notable person has a personality. Okay. Now I want to read a little story to you, okay? Which is something that's kind of important to me. Now I don't know how important this seems to you guys, but it's very important to me. I just picked it up off a website that I'm on that concerns Narcotics Anonymous. The guy that wrote his name is Roadkill Jim. Okay, that's what he goes by. It's a story about 4 people. Everybody, anybody, somebody, and nobody. Whose job is it? Everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did. Somebody got angry because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody would do it, but nobody realized that anybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. That's NA service on a whole. You know, that, because it's so often, you know, it's kind of like I can remember a time in Muncie where I live. I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous. I'm a member of the Indiana region. I am a member of the mid-state area. My home group is the Getting Better group that meets on Thursday from noon to 1. It's a literature study. It's at a building called the Serenity House. It's at 1218 South Brotherton. And it's a literature study, and by literature study, I mean any literature. Right now we're reading a Living Clean book. You know, there might be a time when we do a pamphlet. There might be a time when we do a certain topic out of the back of the Just for Today. You know, that, and we can study any literature, and it's an awesome, awesome group. It's small. When it's big, there's maybe 10 people there, okay? Now, I have a sponsor that has a sponsor that has a sponsor. I believe in one God, one fellowship, and sometimes I get in trouble because of that. Because I believe that we should use our language and not somebody else's. And sometimes I get in trouble for that, you know? I mean, short on being entirely ready is still short on being entirely ready to meet. Okay? My clean date is April 25th of 1988. I went to my first meeting in the other fellowship. See, I come prepared. I went to my first meeting in the other fellowship in 1971. We didn't have Narcotics Anonymous where I live until 1982. I went to my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting in 1982 at a place called the Aquarius House in Muncie, Indiana. It was a 12:30 to 1:30 meeting. And it lasted for about 3 years. And then NA kind of got incorporated with a treatment facility called the Middletown Center. Now, I went to my first meeting in 1982, but I didn't get clean then. But I did hear a message there. The message was that there was a guy visiting from Florida that said, Johnny, hope I can get this out without crying. He said, Johnny, if you stay clean, things beyond your wildest dreams will happen. And that's what I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you about things beyond your wildest dreams. You know, I've been married twice and divorced twice in recovery. I've been married 3 times altogether. You know, you don't have to pick up no matter what. No matter what, you don't have to pick up. But what I'm thinking is, if anybody wants anybody's phone numbers, here's a pen and a pad. And if you want to get somebody's phone number, take this pen and pad and do it. Okay? And do it. Don't just, don't leave here saying, man, I wish I'd have got their number. I wish that there was something that I could have done. Because we stay clean together. And it's about our principles. It's not about our personalities. You know, this is one of my favorite books of all. My favorite reading in this book is on page 335. It's called Walking Through the Pain. And I can't read it without crying, so I ain't reading it. But this book, it has 2 pages that are very important on what we're talking about right now. And the first one is on page 55, and it says, Messages and Messengers. It says, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our tradition, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. The 12 steps remind us of the importance of putting principles before personalities. In recovery meetings, this means, be paraphrased, don't shoot the messenger. We often get the message confused with the messenger and negate what someone shares at a meeting because we have a personality conflict with that person. I can remember early in recovery when I had to go to a different town to hear something that people in my town were saying because I didn't like the people saying that. And then I got a suggestion, shut your eyes. Don't look. Try not to listen to the distinct voice that somebody has to be turned off. And realize that it's always the message that you're listening to. It says, if we have problems with what certain people have to share at meetings, we might want to seek guidance of our sponsor. I believe in one sponsor, okay? Our sponsor can help us concentrate on what is being said rather than who is saying it. Our sponsor can also help us address the resentments that may be keeping us from acknowledging the value of some particular person's recovery experience. It is surprising how much more we can get out of our meetings when we allow ourselves to do as the 12 traditions suggest. Focusing on recovery principles rather than personalities. And the Just for Today says, I will practice the principle of anonymity in today's NA meeting. I will focus on the meaning of recovery, not the personalities of the messenger. When I first come in here for this workshop right here, I'm looking inside and there wasn't anybody in here at 1:30. And I'm saying, okay. And I remember a speaker named Little Chris. Little Chris got clean when he was 14 years old. He got clean when he was 14, and he was asked to speak everywhere after he turned like 16. He was already almost like a circuit speaker, And he was speaking in California and he was doing a workshop, okay? He was doing a workshop in California. And only 4 people attended the workshop, and 3 of them were people that were with him. Okay, but they recorded it. Okay? 2 years later, somebody come up to him when he was speaking at a convention and said, "Chris, I listened to your message." He said, my sponsor told me that if I could listen to your message and still want to get high, that he'd get high with me. But he didn't. He stayed clean. And he's sharing this with Chris. And Chris said, man, there was only 4 people there. But the message was recorded, so an addict got the message and stayed clean. 15 years later, this Chris guy is speaking, I think, in New York. And his story is real funny because he's talking about having to pee, and he had to pee real bad, you know. And he said that you could see out of the corner of his eye that this guy was chasing him, wanting to, like, he thought he was going to beat him up or something, you know. So he didn't make it to the bathroom, and the guy caught up with him, and he said, "Chris, do you remember me?" And he said, "No." He said, "I'm the guy that came and told you I stayed clean." He said, "I'm graduating from some massive college somewhere, some Ivy League college on the East Coast, because he stayed clean." Little Chris has got a message about going. Now, I'm a Yankees fan, okay? But now listen to his story. Little Chris in his story talks about going to the parade in Boston when the Red Sox won the World Series. And he kept saying, "Yep, me, Little Chris." And then he mentioned his home group, and he'd say, "Because I was friends with one of the pitchers on the Boston team, they allowed me to ride on a float like I was a participant in it." And then he talked about it, and he said, "Those are miracles beyond your wildest dreams." And it's only through the principles that he stayed clean. It ain't got nothing to do with personalities. The highest we ever get here is clean. You know, I know that I do a lot of service work, and a lot of times I think some people are really confused about service work. And they think they're going to get, you know, I've heard people say it before. I can't remember who it was on the way up here, Jimmy T or Khalif that I listened to on the way up here. But one of those two said, "This is an anonymous program. You don't get famous in an anonymous program." At least you're not supposed to. You know, it ain't about that. It's about carrying the message. And the message is that an addict, any addict, can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. And it's how we carry it that's important. Okay, I got my 6th edition. I've got my 5th edition, and it works how I want in this little book. But this book, this new one, I've actually got shit in it. When they asked for people to turn in suggestions, I wrote some stuff down, and I sent it in to Bob Jordan, who was the guy that was in charge of this book. And he sent me back an email saying that, he said, "Johnny, I used some of your stuff in the 2nd and 3rd chapter." Now, I can't remember what I wrote down. And I haven't been able to find my personal stuff, but I mean, they straighten it up, you know, so I'm sure that the way I put it in is not the way it got in. But I'm grateful for that too. But this new book's got stuff in it that I used to go to meetings and say, "Well, that ain't in the books." You know, let me read it to you. I'll tell you what it is, because it's something that a lot of people would say, "Oh man, why'd they put that in the books for?" If I can find it, I'll read it to you. It's not always easy, you know, to follow the right step, but it has to do with no relationships for a year. It's in this book. It says something in here somewhere. I might never find it. I don't know, but I know this. I know that this book has 4 pages on sex in it. And when we read that in my home group, I said, it was like 2 weeks before, and I kept telling people, I said, just think pretty soon we'll get to read all about sex. But so many things have changed in this book. This book's so much different than our other literature because it's like all of our literature. It's written by addicts, for addicts, to recover by. And I couldn't find that. But there's some great one-liners in here that I can find. And one of my favorite ones is that our higher power is not a vending machine. And I think that's just awesome because so many times we'll go to our God and we'll say, God, if you do this, I'll pick a Milky Way. Or if I pick a butternut, will you do this for me? Instead of starting to try and live in His will and having things happen the right way. It's really funny. I have silly stuff for bookmarkers in here. This is character defects and shortcomings. It's a list of them that I had a friend make for me so I could look at how many of them I was not doing right on. And myself personally, I've been clean a long time, but I still suffer terribly about being open-minded at times, about being judgmental of others at times, about thinking, because that's what got me here to begin with, was my thinking. And my thinking hasn't improved a whole lot, but yours has to help me. I know that. I'm grateful for that. And I don't know how long I've been talking, and I don't want to talk forever because I know Frank's going to have a really, really good message for us to hear. But something that I want to read because it's my favorite. I have a lot of favorites. My favorite reading, my favorite sentence in the basic text, my favorite sentence is, everything we know is subject to revision, especially what we know about the truth. Because the longer we stay clean, the more our truth changes. We start having power in things like a God of our understanding. Mine might not be yours. And I'm not going to go to a meeting, I'm not going to share about my God. I might share that I got a higher power. But I don't want to give anybody else any problems with it. I won't go to a meeting and share about my dope. Whatever it was usually yours, if I could get it. Because that's not important either. It tells us in our reading, we don't care what or how much you used, or who your connections were, only what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. I like to go to meetings where solutions are. Because solutions are our answers, and it's in our literature. And I value that so much. But now I'm going to read my favorite thing, and it works how I want, okay? And I love these little books because I can put them in my console, my car, and I can take them with me everywhere I go. And that's why I have a little dictionary too, because I like to have it everywhere I go too, because I don't understand everything. I have been blessed just to be here. This is one of my favorite functions to come to. For me, it's like a spiritual retreat. I reboot. I reboot. And I will read what is It's about principles and personalities, and it's from the 12th tradition. And it says, we are equal in NA membership. We are all at last anonymous parts of, rather than uniquely apart from. The NA Fellowship. The anonymity spoken in our 12th tradition means that finally we who have suffered so long from the isolating disease of addiction belong. We belong here. Truly, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions. Without it, the unity upon which personal recovery depends would dissolve in a chaos of conflicting personalities. With it, our groups are given a body of guiding principles, our 12 traditions, helping them join the personal strengths of their members in a fellowship that supports and nurtures the recovery of us all. When I read what I'm going to continue to read, I think about what Jimmy T. from New Jersey shares, and I'll tell you what it is at the end. So we pray that Narcotics Anonymous never becomes a gray, faceless collection of addicts without personalities. We enjoy the color, the compassion, the initiative, the rough and tumble liveliness that arises from the diverse personalities of our members. In fact, our diversity is our strength. We find that the stronger our individual members are, the more strongly united our fellowship becomes. This is a great paradox of NA recovery. In joining together in a commitment to the greater good of Narcotics Anonymous, our own welfare is enhanced beyond measure. In surrendering self-will, humbly placing whatever individual power we may have at the service of the whole, we find an amazing power that's only greater than our own, but greater than the sum of all its parts. And we are all its parts. Jimmy T says, I don't care if you're a white addict, a black addict, a gay addict, a straight addict, any addict can stay clean in Narcotics Anonymous. And I'm grateful for what I'm given to learn how to stay clean and hopefully remain teachable for all of you. And with that, I'll pass. And I will introduce our next speaker, unless you want to.
No.
Okay. Our next speaker is someone that I know that's involved in recovery. I know that he was involved in the last convention that we had, right? And that he does service work. And with that, I know that he's going to stay clean if he keeps doing that. And it's Frank.
It's an honor to be introduced by a predecessor. There are no bigger I's and no small U's. I know we're all equals here. It took me a minute to realize that, and a lot of it was from some of the work that I did through service. More importantly, it's the effort that I've put into working steps. I have a sponsor. I work a program to the best of my ability. I work the steps to the best of my ability. I don't have a working knowledge of all 12. I'm almost halfway there, though, which means I'm coming at the end of my 6th step, and it's been a process, and it hasn't been easy. Anything that requires hard work and great rewards is not easy. Recovery is a continuous, and it's an uphill journey. That says it right in the book. I know that. I've read it. I will touch on this Living Clean book in a minute because I haven't been healthy recently. I've been not plagued with thoughts of using, but I've been struggling with trying to improve as a man, trying to be a better friend to others, becoming well aware of my character defects because I've had to list them all. Again, to the best of my ability. Can I say that I covered them all? Probably not. But in this process of doing so, I've kind of discovered that it's made it real easy for me to spot them all in you. And it's a whole lot easier for me to look at you and what you're doing wrong, or where you're falling short, than it is to look at me and my own shortcomings. But I've been doing both. And I'll be honest, sometimes I don't know if I'm coming or going. I do know that today that I'm here to stay. But I don't know what it might take for me to go right back out that door and not come back, because there's been, it's gotten to the point where I've actually even contemplated taking my home group and moving them over to the area next door, because some of the personalities that I've encountered and worked with at the area level, it's just been hard, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully, because I know today that it's nothing about them, but I have feelings. I have a personality of my own. I have principles in my life. I know right from wrong, and that's when looking at principles before personalities, I got to know what, I got to stand by my principles, in spite of whatever all the other personalities that I'm going to see. We take away the dope and the drugs. Do you think we all just becoming instantly just better people, happy-go-lucky, happy, joyous, and free? I can't speak for you, but I know for me it hasn't been that way. I struggle with fear. I have a hard time looking at myself. I'm judgmental. I can even be prejudiced at times against entire groups of people. I judge people just on their outward appearances and even on their actions. I have a hard time warming up to people. I'm a loner. I know this today. I'm a loner just by nature. And I've been that way for a long. I noticed it today walking into lunch. First table I'm looking for ain't the one that's crowded. I'm looking for that one that's empty back there in the corner, because I want to sit there. Because I'm afraid of people. I'm afraid to get close. Because I'm afraid to get burned. Coming up here this weekend, I had plans. The original plan was for me and a young man that I've been working with, who's actually blessed. He's been a blessing in my life. He's saw something in me that I still have a hard time looking at myself. I try to remain humble. I have low self-esteem anyway, so it's pretty easy. But I know that I am somebody today, because some men have really asked me to help guide them on their journey. So I know I'm doing something right. I can pat myself on the back today. But that doesn't make me any more or less recovered than they are, because generally when men have asked me to sponsor them and I choose to do so, it's really based upon a lot of the things that I see in them that I know that I share in myself. I can see the pain that they're going through. I know what it's like to be all alone in a crowd full of people, and I felt that way at our most recent convention. I've even felt that way here. And that is the disease of addiction. It's got nothing to do with the dope. And it's got nothing to do with anything that I used prior to getting here. I know that I used because I didn't like how I felt, and I had to use in order to so I could find the courage to fit in. I never fit in. I've shared this a lot. I know what I can recall being in my first day in school. I was just like walking into that cafeteria earlier. I was the kid in the back of the class. I didn't feel like I belonged, and I can't tell you why. I know I was an addict long before I picked up. I know I'm still an addict today. I had a using dream last night. Coming in, it was my original plan was to go. We were going back to. I got a little lost here, but our plan was to go. We're going to camp together with Camp Colby, because we don't like a lot of people in our area, in my area either. We thought it might be great to. We thought it might be great to hang out because those guys were covering their ass off. They make me feel comfortable. They make me feel loved. They make me feel warm every time I see them every year, and I look forward to that. And I felt that way, when I first got clean. There was a group of men that grabbed me in, and I rode their coattails, and they're the reason I'm here today. They're the reason I stay active in service. I'm on the committee that put this up. I'm proud to say that. But when it comes to service, I ask myself, this is my little thing. I made this up. This original. When it comes to service, I ask myself. I think everybody should do this. Ask yourself, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And who are you doing it for? And if I'm doing it for anybody other than the newcomer, then I might want to look at why I'm doing this and really take a hard look at that. Because I'm doing it for me, for a pat on the back, or for people, because I think people are going to think, oh, they're going to open A. Frankie's for covering his ass off. That ain't how it works. I do it because it's the next right thing to do. Because I need to feel good about myself. Because I struggle with it. That's why service works. We keep what we have by giving it away. And sometimes it's just that simple time. I need to find idle use with my time, and I need to take positive actions in my life, in all my affairs, not just at my home group or around the tables, because it's the positive actions that are going to help change the unpositive thoughts that are going on in my head. And I got a head that's spinning 24/7, and I have no power over those thoughts. A lot of them aren't healthy, but I do have power over my actions today. I don't have to pick up, no matter what. And I've been through some hard things clean. Doing the next right thing is continuously trying to do the next right thing for the right reasons has kept me clean, and it's given me the opportunity to say that without a doubt, that although not everybody might like me, I know just about everybody in my life and in my area, they do respect me, and that's all that counts. But I have a small measure of self-respect today too, because I know that I am somebody and I am important. And it was important for me to be here, and it was important for me to do whatever it was that I did. Hugging that next person that came up to buy a T-shirt, holding a T-shirt aside because another guy, asked for it. Staying true to my word, being there on time, sitting in a workshop, and being there for another addict that might need some support. I would have felt like shit if we'd have been here really sharing to two people. But if we were only sharing to one person, our job would have been done. Because we would have been helping each other, if nothing else. It only takes 2 or more addicts to make a meeting. I can't have a meeting by myself. I can't work steps by myself. I wish I could, because like I said before, I'm most comfortable by myself. But the struggle with resentments, I found in the Living Clean book. I was in the laundromat, doing laundry, and I brought my book along because I done read every Sports Illustrated there in the last couple months. So I really had nothing else there to read, and I knew this. So again, I wasn't recovering my ass off. I had an epiphany, and I was on my way out the door, and there that book was. And I thought, you know what? It might be a good idea to bring that. And I looked for it. I just jumped through it. I looked, for the chapters, and I'm walking the walk was with it. I thought, hey, there we go. And it was talks about gratitude. On page 63, Walking the Walk, chapter 3. You might have wrote this. Gratitude is not just a mood. It is a course of action, a way of setting ourselves in relation to the world. Sometimes it's a discipline, a principle. It can take work to hold ourselves in that attitude, especially when we're used to seeing the world through our filters of entitlement and resentment. Humility and gratitude walk hand in hand. We practice saying what we are grateful for, whether or not we feel it. The feeling may not come naturally at first, but when we practice saying thanks, we start to recognize how much we have to be thankful for. Many of us start with the fact that we're not in withdrawal today. And we start to see how fortunate we really are. Our questions don't frighten us as they once did. They might not be answered right away. But we start to see that our questions about the nature of God are much less important than the rewards we get from building the relationship, even if we don't understand or fully believe it. Gratitude is an action. It's not just a feeling. It's easy to be grateful when I'm having a really good day, when everything has just seemed to fall into place, when I woke up, prayed up, when I did something good for somebody, and they actually had the decency to thank me for it. Because, whether or not I deserve to be thanked or not is entirely irrelevant. If I'm doing it because I'm expecting it, then I'm doing it for the wrong reasons, period. Give it away, man, because it's the next right thing to do. That's putting a principle before the personality, not yours. I'm talking about my personality. I'm not loving and caring by nature because I didn't get a lot of it growing up. And that's, I can't blame my parents no more. One of them's never around, and we shared the same disease. So who knows? All I know is that this God-given program has allowed me the ability to be clean today and to help some people's lives. And that in and of itself is more than I ever asked for. I came in here because I was broken, because my spirit was broken. I was emotionally bankrupt. In a word, I was empty. As far as material things, I didn't have nothing but the clothes on my back, but that didn't matter, man. What was the bottom for me might not be the bottom for you, but I know I was down and I was out, and I didn't want to die that way. And it scared me. It scared me, thinking that I could have died out here in the streets of South Bend, and my poor grandmother, who really didn't even know, who was somewhere in Texas, wouldn't have even known. People die on the streets, and some of them die very much alone with no family or anybody. It's a vicious cycle. This disease, I have a disease, a power greater than myself that wants to take me and lead me outside that door and say, fuck you, I ain't never coming back. And I've been this close to doing that real recently. I had last night's speaker told me that that being on step 6 is really hard. And sometimes it's the make or break step for many men and women. Did I want to come this far halfway towards the journey? Working on it just to say fuck it and go? I spent a lifetime doing that. So many goals that I had set that I never saw through. I've done it clean too. Spent 1 year in nursing school, halfway towards getting an RN. I was going to be a registered nurse. I got halfway through it, life showed up. Some events that I had no control over. I didn't flunk out, but I had to put that plan on hold. Some might say it was a failure. I'll tell you this, I spent a full year in nursing school successfully. And I'm only 4.5 years clean. If you'd have told me I'd have been even in school, I mean, that was a success story. Finding the courage to even enroll and see it through, and know that it's something that I can still go back and do because I still have hope. I definitely have the ability because that's been proven. I was on the honor roll for the first year, and I hadn't been in a classroom in over 20 years. Who does that? We do. We do. It's been real hard getting here. My sponsee that I was supposed to be coming up with, sadly he didn't. I guess for lack of a better term, he kind of I guess chickened out at the last minute. He was and for many of the reasons that I've described. He's had some conflicts with some of the personalities that he's met. He's seen some of the uglier side of Narcotics Anonymous. But I've tried to instill in him that that's something that he needed to see, because a lot of our predecessors that I've had in my journey or shown me how to live, giving me prime examples of clean time not equaling recovery. Let's just put it that way. My hope was that it would motivate him to just stick around and do the next right thing, because he was helping me, and I was helping him. But sadly, he just said, fuck this, I'm not going. He might be out there. I don't know. But I can remember my first year, leading up to this. I was going through that same phase, and I said, fuck this. I'm not going with you guys. I'm gonna stick right around here. I was in a facility, and I chose not to go. Didn't go out and use over it, because I was a meeting maker. I was doing the 90 and 90. I kept my dick in my pants for a year, and I've seen the rewards today. And the reward in being that I know what I want today, and I know that God hasn't provided it. I know that I'm not judged as a predator today. There's a lot of men that can't say that. I'm not going to point fingers, but we see it. It doesn't set right with me, and I want to judge him for it. But who the hell am I to deny some other people, two addicts, their happiness? If they're okay with it, who am I to say that I'm not? What's right for me, what's wrong in my eyes might be right in somebody else's. I'm working my program to the best of my ability. I got to do what's right for me, because I have a conscience today. I know that my actions, there are consequences for it that not only affect my life, but they affect other people's as well. Because some men look up to me today. Some of even my predecessors might even look up to. We see things eye to eye. I know that I'm respected today, and that's something that I am. Someone that I am proud of who I am today, some of the time. But to remain that way requires work. I got to see this 6 step through to the end. I have to coming to believe that a power greater than myself that can, restoring me to sanity, it gives me the hope that he can remove my defects of character. Whether he will or not, that's going to be determined by the amount of faith that I have in my God. But I'm still clean today, so why does that faith waver from time to time? It's because I have the disease of addiction. I think that's all I have. I thank you guys for coming and supporting me in my recovery. I hope what we shared helps you in your journey. But I needed to talk about that, because I needed to get what I had off of my chest. Because I'm still recovering too. And I do feel a little bit better right now. Thanks for allowing me to share. Keep it in mind.
There's about 15 minutes left if anybody else wants to get up and share.
I'm Roxanne and I'm an addict. And thank you for all staying, and for attending the workshops, Sometimes when you get a certain amount of clean time, people have a tendency to want to, go to the main speakers and have fun. It's a new place or something like that. But I've done that. But the longer I stay clean and the more I work the program, the more I realize what I need here is to absorb and internalize and ruminate. That's what cows do. I'm an example person. I talk about examples all the time. They bring it up and they chew and they're multiple times, right? Well, that's what I do with information. I have to bring it up. I have to think about it. I have to, apply it. I have to do it again and do it again. Principles before personalities. After being around a few 24 hours, and knowing and seeing and being called on my character defects and my putting personalities before the principles, I came aware of that, and I can work on that. But when you become aware of something in your life and you're working on it, guess what? You can see it in everybody else. And sometimes it's hard for me to remember it's me I'm working on, and I'm not me fixing them. But there's a line sometimes when that someone with a strong personality and some not really working the program, and it becomes Bob's meeting, or it becomes Joe's meeting, and the old timers or the people who've been around a long time sit in one half the room, and the newcomers are over here. And it doesn't matter where you go. I go to meetings all over the United States, and it's there. Some do, some don't. Some feel like your home group. Some you don't even really recognize them as Narcotics Anonymous meetings. There's one group close to where we live that chooses not to read the traditions. And then they asked for the seventh tradition, the basket, and I choose not to give in that basket because I say, how can you ask for a seventh tradition when no one in that room knows what it is? That's just me applying the principles. But let's say we go back to that Joe's meeting or Jane's meeting or whatever, and this person's personality is all over the place, and I find that happening best in a business meeting. Because we've always done it this way. Well, why can't we change up our format or change a meeting time? Well, we recently, our business meetings were right after our Thursday night meeting. And the majority of the people in our home group work. And there are a few that don't work or are retired or disabled or stuff like that. And we brought it up to, we don't have a meeting on Monday nights. Let's change our business meeting to Monday nights. We can have it early, and more people will attend, because by the time our business meeting be 10, 11 o'clock, by the time it was done, and we've got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, that's really hard. So we have a tendency to skip it because we just can't, my job, I have to go to my job, right? So in our area is the Sunday before, our area is the Sunday before region. Okay, so our business meeting was always the Thursday before area. Now we switch it to Monday, okay? Well, guess what? You got Father's Day in June, so everything had to move. So tomorrow we have our business meeting because it's Monday. No problem. We'll be back there. It's at 6 o'clock. When I look at the people around the table that don't want something to change, they feel comfortable in something. And pretty soon it's not about the conscience, the God conscience of the group anymore. It's about what a few people want. And the newcomers, they're encouraged to come to meetings and stuff. They will vote according to the majority. Or they will vote according to Bob if they idolize Bob. What disservice are we doing if we haven't explained to these newcomers before they come to a meeting that this is their vote, not Bob's vote, to know the issue before you come so you can vote according to what you believe, then you could have a God-conscious group vote. Principles before personalities is not just about sitting in a meeting and not talking about so-and-so or, outside after the meeting and, oh, God, I can't stand the way that guy talks. He's been clean 90 days and he acts like he knows everything. Guess what? That's me. Me with clean time saying, putting principles before personalities instead of, putting people before I get confused when I'm saying that. I'm getting old. You get the idea of what I'm trying to say, though. One thing I've been taught, and it works really well in all my relationships. Works good with my husband, it works good in my sponsees, people I don't know at work or whatever. We have a tendency to not take action because we don't know of the outcome, if it's going to be, and other times we know what the outcome is going to be. Someone's going to be hurt. But I have to be honest, and I need to do this. I got to stop procrastinating. So what I've been taught is I go up to the person and I say, Joe, I mean this in a loving, caring way, but I cannot find words to explain what I need to tell you that is not going to hurt you. So please have an open mind and know that I'm doing this because I love you. And I can guarantee you that person can look at that behavior, they can look at the situation, and they won't be mad at you. I have yet to have someone be angry with me when I've approached him that way. So coming to Narcotics Anonymous and learning to stay clean and all that kind of stuff that we learn early in recovery, and then there's people that have a significant clean time and they say that they've been, not really doing their thing. I don't know about you, but there isn't a day that goes by that I can't learn something in Narcotics Anonymous, outside Narcotics Anonymous, that I can use to help another person. And when I'm suffering and when I'm caught in my shit and I feel like I'm not going anywhere, my sponsor always said, you're on a hill. You spend your whole recovery on a hill. You're either going up. There is no standing still. If you're not going up, you're going down. You're taking a step backwards. There's no such thing as being stagnant in recovery. If it gets so bad and I'm hurting, my sponsor says, when was the last time you did something for someone else? And it's probably been a while. And I have found that I can get out of me when I do for someone else. And I don't mean just holding a door or letting them in front of me in line in a grocery store, things like that. But being compassionate when I talk with someone, showing empathy with someone, visiting someone who's has to go to the hospital and has one of those procedures where they can't drive home, Hey, you know what? People in my home group know I'm off on Wednesdays. I don't work Wednesdays. My Wednesdays are very full because they know, I schedule my appointments on Wednesday too, but they will schedule their appointments, some of them, on that day, working around my appointments because they know that I will take them and I will do that for them. That's one of the ways I do for others. It's learning from other people and talking to them and asking questions. Why is it so hard to ask questions? Why can't we tell someone that we have a problem or we need something? Oh, addicts are the worst people to ask. Say, I need help. Nope, I can do this on my own. Nope, I can carry these. Learn to ask for help. Got a minute yet? I know someone else wants to speak. Gotta keep me on here. There's one other thing I just wanted to touch on that from yesterday and today and stuff. I only heard one person, I think, during all the workshops mention the traditions. I was a little disappointed in that. I happen to be working the traditions right now. I'm on the first one. And, but I've held service positions right through the region level and had never done the traditions. I hear people, you finish the steps, you go through the steps again, you go through the steps again, and I have every intention to do that. But I am not going to leave out the traditions. I go through the steps, the traditions, then the steps again. Maybe the next time it'll be the concepts. When we stop talking about the traditions and not explaining to the newcomers how important that is, what are we going to lose in our groups? Unity. We lose unity, meetings fall apart. First tradition. Our common welfare has to come first. Our personal recovery depends on any unity. If my personal recovery is going to depend on something, you can make damn sure I'm going to be a part of it. We're not a fellowship without unity. So I tell all you out there who clean time, not enough time, whatever, take it back to your groups. Let them know how important these traditions are. Don't brush over them. Don't just read the 12 steps and 12 traditions, and that's all you ever have in your meetings. Now we'll talk about the steps, or we'll talk about this book, and we'll talk about that. That's all great. But the traditions are there. And if we do what it says, we can avoid some of the pitfalls. We can avoid a lot of pain. We can maybe solve some of those problems at the group level or the area level if, like in our area, there's a meeting before a regular meeting before the meeting starts. It's a great time to do traditions. Because then right after that, the meeting starts, and that's the first thing in the front of your head when you go and you start working on your area. Find out if you have less arguments or, less people pushing their weight around, I'm so grateful for the workshops and for the speakers and for the topics. When we come here, we were here 2 years ago, my husband and I, and we hadn't financially been able to make it here again till this year. And I got the same exact feeling this time that I did 2 years ago when I came here. It was like the beginning of the summer and everybody's trying to push it all into a short time because summer started late. And so it's kind of like summer is my time to recreate me. Recreation means to recreate, and that recreation is with my higher power, with my husband, and people around me that I love. It's my time to give of myself to those people for the time in the winter and when things are all over, and I can't do that. But when I work with sponsees, I get drained. When I work with people with clean time and a lot of recovery, they fill me. My sponsor says you need to spend equal amount of time with women in recovery who have clean time and sponsees, because if not, what are you going to have for yourself if you're always draining and not being filled? This is my place to fill, and I am getting it, and I love it, and I'm grateful. Thank you.